I might have grumbled a little bit under my breath, but I never really said much. Just like, okay, whatever, it's fun. But what happened is there's opportunity cost. Rather than actually sitting down and doing the work that we need to do to become peer-to-peer cash for the world, we can't get distracted by little things like this. And this is okay on its own, but there's another part of the mix is like nobody's thinking about it from the outside of the Bitcoin Cash world.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. This is episode number 16, BCH around the world and cryptocurrency communities. Today is Sunday, the 2nd of May, 2021, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. I'm here today with Cameron. He's a musician and a cryptocurrency enthusiast and probably a lot of other stuff. So Cameron, welcome to the show, man. Introduce yourself.
Hey. How's it going? I've loved cryptocurrency for a while. I do a lot of work and projects on crypto, primarily Bitcoin Cash, mostly around branding and messaging and stuff like that. Kind of a marketing that's kind of what I can add to the world. So yeah, I'm just a huge fan of like you said, I'm peer-to-peer cash. That's really my thing, but it's all for the whole to get rid of central banks. That's my I don't like the product that they offer. That's
ideologically minded. I mean, I think that's really good because I had an episode where I talked about how people get into cryptocurrency, and there's like a whole spectrum of reasons, right? Like for some people it's like economic, they want to like make some money, or there's a like even to speculate or to actually transact, they have a use case with remittances or whatever. And then for some people it's really like ideological. For some people it's kind of, I don't know, just creative or curiosity or whatever. So I think you and I have that in common, definitely, that the key part is true, the ideology. We're here to sort of change the world. And it's just pretty nice that the one way I want to change the world is also a way you can get rich. So that kind of works out.
Yeah. And it's also really fun. I mean, all the other things you listed, the creativity, sending money around the world, all that stuff. Like, I like that part too.
Yeah.
There's so many great parts about it, but at the root, it's freedom,
Freedom, man. Freedom. I'm all about that freedom. Well, so, okay, first things first, we got to check in on the price, as per usual. All right, so just before, it was about $975, one Bitcoin Cash, which is about 1 to 58 with BDC to BCH. So actually, we've been up back over 1,000. We've been looking good the last couple of months on a bit of an uptrend. What do you think? How much do you follow the price? Like, is that a regular preoccupation, or you just whatever?
Being a cryptocurrency enthusiast, I check the price every 5 minutes.
Good.
It's just second nature. I just pick up my phone like out of habit every time like I have a second, and I just check Telegram messages, and then check the price. It's just
that is the correct answer.
So every single
You're the first guest to have given this answer, and so I know you're authentic, because that's right. I mean, I think for me, definitely, I've said before, like I go through periods. Sometimes I'm like obsessively watching it, but sometimes you just got to burn out, and then it's nice where you have a couple of weeks where you're not paying as much attention. Like something else is going on in your life that takes up more preoccupation, but
Well, I'm actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm actually like at a new place for myself. I check the price all the time, but I never really get like moved by it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the price has changed. Oh, cool. It's almost more of a curiosity, or just kind of interested. It's not like, oh my god, here we go.
We're up, it's 20%. Oh my god, we're down.
I'm financially ruined.
Yeah, and I think that's another like part of maturity in this sort of ecosystem, right? Is for individuals, right? Because you kind of, there's no shift. I think it's very interesting, like in terms of when you start adopting a Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or any cryptos versus when you just accept it. There's no change in the crypto. The only change is in yourself, right? Where if your sort of mentality is, I've known fiat currency my whole life, and there's this other new thing, and I'm a bit involved, and it's pretty crazy, and whatever. versus like you could literally, it could take 1 second. You literally could just go, nope, this is the future and we're never going back, right? But that doesn't happen. Like people take time to adjust and get in the rhythm, you know?
Yeah. That's why I always tell someone, it's like just get some. Let me send you $10. Because I know that once they have it and they check it, they're like, wow, my $10 is $7 now.
Yeah.
Like, wow, my $10 is $13 now. Then that like starts the curiosity. It's like, the first one's free kind of thing,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, come on, just get some. It'll be good.
The crypto drug deals. And I think the thing about that kind of pitch is it's so horribly effective, like you're saying. But there's such a barrier to it because obviously, because it involves money, people have very high skepticism levels because they've been trained their whole life. Like, it's true, you've got the Nigerian prince scam or like whatever kind of scam. Anything that involves money, people are instantly suspicious. And so when it's like,
that's very true.
Let me give you like $5 for free, and they're like, what's the catch? And you're like, there's no catch.
What's the catch? Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, it's not like, well, now maybe, I don't know if people would be more open to it, or if it sort of came into like some other, I guess there's just nothing like money. Like there can't be.
Oh, that must be a big part of it, because I haven't really had that problem, but I've only really started doing that like a few years ago. Usually I never did such a thing really in the past, but yeah, by now most everyone's heard of Bitcoin, so it's not so much that. And if they haven't, wow, I'm probably not meeting those people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing how it's just captured the global mind share at this point. Really, like I'm flabbergasted probably is the word for it. Where when I think compared to even like 3 or 4 years ago at the last bubble, that it was still like very fringe. Now it's like a fringe thing, but it's a known fringe thing. So
yeah,
we're only like 1 to 2 big waves away from it just going freaking everywhere. In my
that's really true. Yeah,
my opinion. So okay. So we always check in every week on the noise.cash and the transactions, because we had this huge surge, right? And it kind of went up past BTC, and I think that did a lot of good, because it sort of, I mean, to me it was never doubt, but to a lot of people, like, that proved, okay, big blocks, you can have more transactions, the fees don't rise, and it all works.
Right.
And then they sort of announced in the last couple of days that, because obviously a lot of people were just sending around 1 cent, 2 cent or whatever, that they were going to start batching up transactions. And then so our transaction count has plummeted off way below BTC, back down to, maybe like 100,000 or 150,000 or something like that. But I think, in the long term, I don't see this at all a problem. And I think it's an interesting to note that even if you took that out, like, we would still have a pretty massive growth, over the last like 5 or 6 months in terms of like real transaction. I really don't want to say real, but
I know
you
what you
watching
mean.
this?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
No, I haven't been watching this at all.
Like the whole microtransactions use case, are you convinced that is proving Bitcoin Cash as a viable system? Or do you think, look, just people are getting free tips from, Mark DeMeasles giving out money, and once he stops, like, nobody will care? Or how have you been seeing this?
I'm more on the second half of that. I'm fairly critical of a lot of things, just because I've been in the Bitcoin Cash world for so long. Like, a lot of things that like sound really good at first, like, I don't feel like they actually have lasting effect. But I mean, I'm looking at this graph here, and I can't see anything bad about it. Like, this is a great graph. Like, I like seeing the transactions go up like this. I just don't know if it's going to have such a long term effect.
I mean,
but I'm not negative.
Yeah. No, like, I just think, obviously people have had a whole spectrum of opinions, from, if you're very anti-Bitcoin Cash, you say, oh, well, it was all spam and nobody really wanted to use it or whatever. And then if you're very strongly in favor, you might be like, look, we're kicking off, we're going viral, like, it's taking over. I
do have one strong opinion about this, actually. I feel like if you're happy about this, but you also laughed at BSV when they put like the Weather Channel on the chain or whatever they did, like, I feel like you don't kind of get that right. Like, it's one or the other. You're either happy about little silly microtransactions, or in principle. You know what I'm saying? That's, I'd say, my only strong opinion on
That's an
this.
interesting take, because I would say maybe I am in that category, and my reasoning that I'm gonna try and thread the needle
Okay,
here
well,
a little bit is
sure, yeah, I'm ready.
that the BSV stuff. The thing was that they got really into this mentality, as far as I know, of like all data being on the blockchain, not just like financial data, but
Yeah,
any sort of app or service, everything being put on the blockchain. And to me, that's a bit of a misunderstanding,
yeah,
because it's like, well, blockchain has a very specific use case, but it's not just generalized data storage. It's definitely not like every
true.
single app in the world ever should just forget about their database and just dump everything on the
Yeah,
blockchain. That's just patently stupid on so many
yeah,
fronts. So for me, it's really about the monetary aspect. So with the noise.cash, because it was like, it is a money use case. The whole point is like tipping people on social
right.
media. So I feel like that's kind of different, because that's giving people the idea of trading, of that kind of economic aspect.
I'm actually really glad you say that, because that's actually somewhere you and I agree. Is I'm critical of some things like this, the social media clones. I'm also critical of SLP
Mm.
tokens. And the place that I always find where I'm like, oh no, I'm cool with that, is when it comes down to transferring value. So SLP tokens, just for the fun of it. I mean, I think I created one at one point, right? Like, it is what it is. It's just a toy. But like, when you think about them as like reward points or something, like, now it's like it's kind of like a value it's kind of related to money, it's related to transferring value. And then my stance really softens, like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. It's related to peer-to-peer cash. And what you just described right now is actually totally true. Throwing like memo.cash, throwing the tweet content on the blockchain, I'm just like, it's neat, but meh,
Mm.
right? But yeah, transferring value, like you're talking about with noise.cash, yeah, that is actually kind of a different story, I would have to
Yeah.
say.
So
You convinced
that's
me,
good. That's
actually.
good. I'm glad we got a good,
Wow.
conversation. But again, we'll see. Like it will, to me as well. Another big part of it is the second order effect, right? Is that if you put weather data on the blockchain, like, who's checking the weather? Like, nobody. They can look out the window. They want to check the weather. Like, no, nobody cares, right? But if
Yeah.
you get somebody on noise.cash and they tip a couple people and they do 1 cent, 2 cent, and then they think, wait, this is pretty cool. And then they get a phone wallet and then they, expand into the ecosystem. I can see that happening a lot more than
Yeah.
all these other like apps or like, whatever other stuff, right? So one interesting part about this as well too is that just, yesterday, I guess the data points are like 1 day behind. The USD cent over the network has still been doing strong, even obviously just batching up the transactions doesn't actually change the activity that's going on. And BTC is
Okay.
fallen off a cliff, so we're inches away. This is about 15 billion to 16 billion from Bitcoin Cash
Wow.
transferring more per day in 1 day. I guess it would start with, but it would quickly become every day, in USD cent, right?
Wow, that is actually interesting.
Yeah, that's
Huh.
this like story. When I started this podcast in January, and I was looking just before that, I was looking at some of the metrics and all the transactions were going up and everything, and I was thinking, okay, this is a good sign, but I knew the same
Yeah.
as this sort of BSV stuff, like, there's got to be more to the story here, otherwise I'm not really that excited. And so when I saw that the
Yeah.
cent USD per day was going up, that made a big impact on me, and it still just steadily continued to rise, right? So it's
I
finding a
love it.
niche somewhere. Like, somebody's sending these
Yeah.
coins around. It
Yeah.
looks fairly organic to me. So yeah, I think we're doing great on that front. So with the news this week, here we go. We've got a bit of an interesting move. Elon Musk, very famous for his recent excitement about cryptocurrency, and then buying a bunch of Bitcoin, 1.5 billion in Tesla, then has now started going the other way. He started selling his Bitcoin. Well, it's not his, right? So there's this tweet where
Sure.
this guy, Dave Portnoy, Stool Presidente, interesting name, says, so am I understanding this correctly? Elon Musk buys Bitcoin, then he pumps it, it goes up, then he dumps it and make a fortune. Listen, I own one Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is exactly who we thought it was. Just don't be last one hodling the bag. And then Elon replies, no, you do not. I have not sold any of my Bitcoin. Tesla sold 10% of its holdings essentially to prove liquidity of Bitcoin as an alternative to holding cash on balance sheet. And to me, my take is I'm very skeptical. Like, obviously, Elon's got to give this kind of reasoning. He can't just say, yeah, actually, I'm
Sure.
10% less confident in this. And I mean, maybe there's some sense that he wants to be sure he can transfer in and out. But the fact of the matter is, like, when you're adopting crypto, especially like Elon did, it's more like, you know, he was saying, we're not going to be converting back into fiat. We're just hodling all the Bitcoins that people spend with us. And you would be thinking the next stage would be him thinking, okay, how can I pay my employees? Or how can I do this? Or how can I do that? But, you know, expanding the ecosystem. But instead, it seems like, at least to some extent, he's sort of like, well, I might want to be able to get in and out, time the market, you know?
Nice. Well, I want to stop you on one small point you said
Yeah.
right there. You said Elon might invest in building the ecosystem. Can you explain what you meant there?
Well, yeah, like, I think from his tweets that he made, or like the press announcements around Tesla and stuff, like there's even already Tesla engineers have contributed security fixes to Bitcoin Core, right? So if they're going to be taking, you know, this currency, obviously they want it to work, right? That's part of the sort of premise of cryptocurrencies is, as people buy into your network, they get motivated to help it out and make sure that the project works, because they're, you know, it's skin in the game, right? Their money is at stake just like everyone else's. And so I figured that when Elon was announcing, you know, cryptocurrency and everything like that, that I thought he would be thinking of it in the long game. I mean, he's already made comments about the whole world could switch over to cryptocurrency and that being one sort of possible future. And so I would imagine he would not just like, it's hard because on one hand, I feel like he would know that, okay, you want to buy some, and then you want to start, you know, paying employees, and you want to start paying suppliers and moving things in that direction, right? The transition from one to the other. But on the other hand, he's also probably the busiest guy in the world, launching 10 different world-changing projects. So I don't know, maybe he doesn't have all day to play around with crypto and in that way.
But I mean, the reason that kind of like stopped me is like, my thought is like, what else could you build? I heard, you know, like when I pay no attention to BTC. The one thing that I'm most excited about this new interest in Ethereum is finally nobody takes maxis serious anymore. Like, they all look so silly to everyone. And so when you say about like building out the ecosystem, it's like, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
You know, you get a wallet, you know, it's got a terrible UX. That's by design. Fees are expensive. It works. It works exactly as advertised. Like, I just don't know what else you can, like, it's made for holding and it works really well at that. Like, I just don't know what else they would do at this point.
Well, that's where I think maybe he's sort of starting to clue into this, because initially, you know, it takes people a little while to figure out crypto and get into all the history and understand, you know, everything that went on. And you're right, like, he's spent his time and probably, you know, acquired some Bitcoin, and he's, you know, been making tweets about like sending around Dogecoin and the private keys and everything like that, right? So he has understood it, at least, you know, at that level. And so, yeah, with building out the ecosystem, I mean that he would think, okay, we've got this. Now the next step is to pay someone with it. And then maybe he tried doing that and discovered it didn't work.
What did I buy?
Yeah, that's right. He's like, wait a second, I put a $1.5 billion in this. Like, he's not going to be convinced by any. Well, I mean, obviously he was convinced to some extent by, you know, Twitter hype and everybody saying this is the future and everything like that. But, you know, the scales fall from your eyes as soon as you try and actually trade it. And he's the same as everyone. He's not going to, you know, deny reality. He's just going to say he's got no loyalty to BTC, and as we're seeing, you know, maybe he's willing to sell out. And so I just had this other interesting point. Is there's this really good interview with Roger Ver that people can have a look up. So Roger Ver, for those who don't know, is a very, very prominent, maybe one of the most prominent people, by far in cryptocurrency. Very early adopter of Bitcoin and a huge proponent of Bitcoin Cash, to the extent that people often accuse him of, controlling everything, which is blatantly untrue. But that's what they like to that's what they like to say.
Yeah.
And so this somebody did an interview with him, which actually went a bit off topic into different stuff that he doesn't mention usually as much in his other interviews. And so it said, it sounds as if Ver may have also extolled the virtues of Bitcoin Cash to Tesla CEO Elon Musk, but he's reluctant to confirm this. Quote, I hate to be coy, but I'm not going to comment on that question. I'm happy to talk about just about everything, but that's one that I think we'll have to save for another time. So.
Wow. Well, let me just tell you this, dude. I know Roger fairly well, and I've watched a lot of stuff that he's said. And one thing that I know about Roger is I don't think he's ever kept a secret in his life.
Yeah.
Like if there's something about Bitcoin Cash that's mildly interesting, it's just like he's telling the world about it. And that's a good thing. I'm not not saying anything bad. That's just like, he's just always like, boom, this is what's happening. So it's just for him to be just like, sorry, I can't talk about it. That's, I don't know. That's rare behavior for me.
Yeah, that's true. He's exactly. He's a very open, transparent, honest guy. And definitely in interviews, I've never talked to him or anything, but in interviews that I've seen of his, he, he will be a little bit, obviously he's not going to say, he doesn't say exactly what ratio his crypto holdings are in, or, his exact net worth, or, different things like that. You obviously can't expect, nobody just lives 100% in the public spotlight, except for the occasional artist who's trying to do some sort of, protest art or something, right? But everybody's definitely allowed their privacy and stuff, but it's certainly, you're right, that it is very out of character for him to not be, willing to answer a question on the sort of crypto subject. So to me, when I read this, I thought, okay, sounds like he probably has been all speculation on my part, but
I love it. I'm going to jump on this bandwagon with you. I'm just gonna say bullish.
Yeah, exactly.
With no further thought into it. I'm just gonna bullish.
Yeah, exactly. There's and one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of Bitcoin Cash specifically is or just cryptos in general, is that it's a lot easier for crypto to have, and Bitcoin Cash especially, to have good news than bad news, basically, right? There's a lot of random things that could happen in the world, like some economy melts down somewhere, that would be great for crypto and terrible for fiat currencies, right? But there's not many things that can sort of go wrong in crypto. Obviously it has volatility, it crashes, it has big things, but it's because it has grown up, in so much turbulence, it's just developed resistance to all the problems that it was going to have. It's already had them, or those kind of that kind of philosophy.
There's a lot of hacks.
Yeah,
still a lot of hacks, especially in the smart contract world. I feel like I see $10 million lost, once a week, and it's always just like, oh well, that happens.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a trial by error type approach. Recently, I've been reading "Skin in the Game" by Nassim Taleb. I don't know if you've read that, but it's a great book, and basically he talks about, at a system level, with evolution, you can think about it in terms of a lot of shit goes wrong, but the system learns and adapts by trial and error, right? You can't top-down design something. I think this is something people in cryptocurrency inherently know, because it's such a emergent type of phenomenon, right? It's not the whole point is there's nobody in charge. It's just do whatever you want, and if it works, it works. So people are taking those risks on their own crypto, literally, and if they lose it, well, there's no one to cry to, and everyone just goes, oh, tough luck, mate. But that's a very great. That's terrible. That sucks for those people, right? But for the system, it's brilliant, because then everybody learns. Okay, we're not going to do that. Moving on.
It really is exciting. It's like the Wild West of it's like the Wild West of technology, but with a buttload of money behind it.
Yeah,
and that's just it just makes it more fun. It's like
definitely high stakes. I think.
Yeah.
So here we go. We've got another big bit of news this week, which was SmartBCH launches its testnet. So I personally haven't fired this up or looked into this too much, but this is going to be a very general overview. But basically, they had this idea in China with Jihan Wu, who again, he's a very big figure in the crypto space, and he was known for running big mining operations in China. And he was also the first person to translate the Bitcoin white paper into Chinese. So this is a guy that knows his stuff, and he has somehow, I don't even know where this sort of came from or how this was suddenly discovered as possible, but he has taken Ethereum, which is the cryptocurrency known for running all these different apps and programs and stuff on a blockchain, and somehow he has ported that, the fundamental base layer of it, which is called the Ethereum virtual machine, over so that it can be kind of it's called a side chain to the Bitcoin Cash network, so that all of these apps and products and things that people have been really excited about on Ethereum, in theory, can be moved over with very little effort to be powered by using Bitcoin Cash to pay the fees and everything, rather than using Ether on Ethereum. And so, because the Ethereum is struggling to scale to, they're having problems with their fees and stuff, even though there is still so much excitement around it, this could be a massive game changer, both for their ecosystem, because they could migrate over to this in theory and suddenly have a lot more capacity and expand to the next level, and also for Bitcoin Cash, because obviously it's going to draw in attention. So I don't know what you think about this, but it's pretty crazy move.
This is this actually I do have some thoughts on, and I know this is going to be this will go against like literally everyone that I've talked to in the Bitcoin Cash community. I don't like this.
Really?
Yeah, I talked to the guy. I don't know, Kui, I think is his name. I talked to him a little bit, and like it seems like really cool work. Seems like really they did something interesting. They put a lot of work into this, and very smart people, and it's very cool. And so, like the project itself and the people behind it, I have no problem with. The thing is, though, in 2017, we were doing peer-to-peer cash, and it didn't happen. Like, we didn't get the adoption that we promised. We didn't get the full blocks that we expected. And rather than putting our heads down and doing that hard work, we started chasing shiny new objects, social media clones, SLP tokens. And it was kind of obvious that those things weren't going to take off or solve anything. And I might have grumbled a little bit under my breath, but I never really said much. Just like, okay, whatever, it's fun. But what happened is there's opportunity cost. Rather than actually sitting down and doing the work that we need to do to become peer-to-peer cash for the world, we can't get distracted by little things like this. And this is okay on its own, but there's another part of the mix is like nobody's thinking about it from the outside of the Bitcoin Cash world. Inside the Bitcoin Cash world, it's like, cool, now we have this Ethereum stuff. That's good too. That would have been interesting 2 or 3 years ago, right? It's like, this is old. It's past time for this to be out and working. And the second part is like, think if you're a developer and you're going to get into cryptocurrency and you look into Ethereum and you say, oh, the fees are too high. You have so many other options, Cardano, Polkadot. There's just so many options that have been out, tried, true, tested. So to me, it's like we're coming out with something late that does what we're not even supposed to be specialists in. So although it seems very cool, and I'm sure nobody's going to agree with anything that I just said right now, I think that this is a distraction, a waste of time, and I hope it doesn't get any energy.
Yeah, interesting, very, very interesting take. I mean, I got to say, you definitely have a lot of points where you're happy to run against the sort of the community vibe, and I got to say, I don't agree with you entirely. I agree with you to a certain extent,
Sure.
for sure. I mean, the tagline of this show, right, is following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency, and that's the same as you. I think it should be about peer-to-peer cash, and I think one of the reasons that obviously it's been harder to build that is like you say, it's hard work, and that's one of the things that I think Bitcoin Cash I like about it, is that in the short term, if you lift the lighter weights, you feel like a boss at the gym or whatever, but you don't get any stronger, right? But if you're training and you're building up to those harder things, then in the long run you grow a lot stronger. And with Ethereum's definitely solving a hard problem, but a lot of other coins and a lot of things, it basically just comes down to what can we hype up the most right now, or they're trying to solve a technology problem, and those are hard problems for sure. But the real hard problem is changing consumer behavior, changing people's mindset, and that is very, very difficult to do, and that is where Bitcoin Cash, I think, it is putting in the hard yards, because we've seen in the past anybody can just create a new coin, create a flashy website, hype it up. A bunch of greedy speculators will flood in, and then you feel like you're kicking off. But if if you try and say, "Hey, can I buy this sandwich with cryptocurrency?" That is literally harder than getting $10 million of VC funding.
Exactly. And you know what? Hearing you say this, it reminded me of something. So before I got into doing cryptocurrency, I did branding a lot for just regular companies. And I love startups. I love the excitement that happens in smaller companies. So a lot of the people that I work with succeed and fail, right? I dealt with a lot of that fail. And one of the things that I saw the most is everybody is pumped until I deliver the final product and they have to sell it. And then it's like that separates the wheat from the chaff, and that's where I'd see so many of these startup guys they start changing the goal. Like, oh, I want to do this instead. Like, oh, if it had this feature. Like, no, dude, sales is hard. That's it. Like, it's hard to go out and get reach. It's hard work, and I just feel like as a whole, we are that startup just kind of running away from the hard work of like onboarding the world.
Well, money talks. That's really what it comes down to, is that even in, in my own experience in startups and with all of that, is to get $10 million of investment, you only need to convince one rich guy who basically has, I mean, obviously they do their due diligence, but they have some sort of relatively low threshold for handing out, some money. And then, but to sell a product, you have to convince 20,000 regular people to take time out of their day, or to part with their hard-earned money. That people are not actually that wasteful with their money. Like, everybody likes to think that everybody has no savings and stuff like that. But the reality is, if you ever try to launch any kind of product or sell anything to anybody, it's a very high bar, right? To even just one person.
It is, yeah.
And so, I mean, that's like, I always think of the social media, that movie about Facebook, and there's just that moment where Mark Zuckerberg's launched it all, and the Winklevoss twin says, look, if I was handing out free cocaine, I couldn't give it to 100 people in one day. And Facebook was already like kicking off and spreading around, right? And that is so atypical, right? And it's the same with cryptocurrency, right? And so, to me, like, you're saying, okay, I think SmartBCH is a distraction. I somewhat agree. I think the key point to me is, I don't mind having this, and I guess there's no way to stop them doing it, or nor would I want to.
No.
But it's only as long as it does not impose a cost on the ability to be peer-to-peer cash, or not an unreasonable cost, right? If we can have this and it doesn't skyrocket Bitcoin Cash fees to the moon, and then nobody can use it as peer-to-peer cash because all the transactions are these random bot trades or like whatever.
No, that's the cool part about it. It is actually really cool, is if it does manage to get a lot of use, from what I understand, those fees will only apply to SmartBCH, and the peer-to-peer cash use case won't really be affected. So it is cool in that way. I don't think it has any cost to the network. I don't think it'll have any stress or any pain at all to the network. It's just like it's a net positive in so many ways. It's just that our community is quite small, and the number of developers and people we have to work on things is quite small, and I'm afraid they're all going to put their focus on this because it's the new cool shiny thing. And so the cost to me isn't going to hurt the base layer. I think it's just the opportunity cost of the things they could be working on.
Yeah, true. I mean, I guess the counterpoint is sort of that the hope is that by adding this new feature will increase the pool of devs. So maybe there'll be, a certain section of the devs that go in that direction, but we'll also draw in other devs who were on Ethereum or who were interested, and then maybe that flows on the other way, right? Like, I think.
Yeah, and I guess my point there is I just frankly don't believe that's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
Okay. I know it's harsh to say, but like I spend a lot of time looking at the wider crypto world and the world as a whole because I have to stay in touch with the trends and what's going on and stuff. And I'm sorry, but if I'm coming into this, Bitcoin Cash is not going to be the one that I build on right now. Now, if we put this in place and we do better at peer-to-peer cash and we can kind of repair our, let's say things get better with our name and our standing in the rest of the community, then yeah, it's a great thing. And maybe over the next few years, we can slowly build on top of this, slowly start teaching people that there is a benefit to the UTXO model rather than what Ethereum does, or maybe not a benefit, but a difference. Yeah, long term, I think it's very cool. That I want to be clear about that. I'm not against this thing at all. I'm just against us getting distracted.
Yeah. And I think, definitely for sure, the currency can suffer from people being distracted and that was ultimately the whole tragedy of the BTC to BCH fork in the first place, right? Was that every time you split up the kind of the vision of the community or the focus or the priority, not everything can be number one priority, right? That's reality. So something has to be number one, and then everything else has to be taken in that context, right? And
that's what I believe that also. Yeah.
So I guess to that extent, I can see it. Well, I'm more optimistic. I think that we can sort of have this, and I think that we'll have Bitcoin Cash, and maybe this draws in some developers or whoever is fired up about this can get involved in this. And my hope is that, because to me, peer-to-peer cash, it's mostly about people, but we might have to get there the long way via robots, basically, because that's one big part of crypto, right? Is that it can be tradable value for people, but also for robots. And we're having a tough time, or, it's slow going in terms of convincing people, but it's very fast to convince robots. So if you can generate enough economic activity, that just raises the economic incentives for people to get involved. And that's kind of what we've seen on Ethereum. So I'm hopeful that could happen with Bitcoin Cash.
That's a really good point, but let me come right back to that one in a second. One thing that I want to mention is I don't think, like I said, I'm afraid that SmartBCH is what it's going to do is it's going to take the attention of our existing community and move it onto this. That's my concern. What they're saying is that it's going to attract new people, and I'm saying I don't think that's going to happen. But okay, let's be more positive, right? So then let's just go straight to the question. All right, Solana, Polkadot, blah blah blah. These guys, they have what's it called? Marketing budgets. They're spending, I don't know, I've heard that the number is quite high, but I haven't done any research. I can just say they have marketing budgets, right? What's the marketing plan, right? Where's the developer outreach? I'm going to be curious to know what we're going to do to reach outside of this community to get new people. And if that is answered, then I'm just wonderful. This sounds great.
Well, maybe. I mean, I know that you're not gonna take this as necessarily a distinguishing factor, but I suppose the idea is the fees, basically. And you're going to say that all those other smaller ones, they also have low fees, right? So that's where, I'm not exactly sure. I agree with you. I'm not sure that we have a killer distinguishing feature. Like, we can be distinct from Ethereum because they have high fees. And therefore, if it's cheaper, there's an economic incentive to switch. But it's true that all the other ones that are copying Ethereum and they're smaller, well, maybe the key lies in scalability, because if those ones are smaller, or they're cheaper because they are smaller, and if they got to the same size, I don't know, maybe or maybe not, they would become just as expensive. And I think the plan with SmartBCH, or the hope is that it could be the size of Ethereum and stay cheap in the same way that Bitcoin Cash has become the size of BTC, as we've seen recently with the transaction, and stayed cheap. And that's where if you read the stuff that they've talked about technologically, I mean, I did say in theory, but the testnet is launching, and we will start to maybe get some data in the next couple of months as to how things are going. But their plan was, because they rewrote a lot of things from the base layer, they really started from the bottom in terms of taking the concepts of Ethereum and converting it into a new sort of hardware optimized version. That maybe it is possible. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, you know what? I can kind of live with that, but I want to go to the other thing that you said, because it's another really important point that's been on my head lately. Is you said robots, maybe that's easier than people, and so I've heard this argument before. The best metaphor I've heard so far is maybe what I'm doing is, me personally, I'm looking for Linux on the desktop, and everyone was pushing for that. And then actually it was Linux on the servers that made it work. And now, what do you know, like half the world's phones are, built on Linux. So I'm willing to accept that. But here's what I'm not willing to accept. 2017, peer-to-peer cash, big blocks. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, wonderful, count me in. Here we go. And then just all of a sudden, nobody says anything. It's just like, oh, just generally, we thought that was too hard, so instead we're just doing this. Well, dude, I'm just gonna force the question. Like, someone's got to say it. If we're just another blockchain for robots, you got to tell me, because I'm not sure how stoked I am on that. You know?
Yeah, and I think I'm with you all the way, that for sure, peer-to-peer electronic cash, and I like that that's in the title, and I think it should stay there, and I hope that it will. I mean, it seems like it is. I'm not super worried about that, but I take your point that people burn out, like they lose enthusiasm and hype, when they're trying to solve a difficult problem. It just comes back to the same things about startups. You and I have both seen it 1,000 times, that it's easy to get excited, and once it's working, if you solve a hard problem and the momentum is rolling, well, that's the liquid gold, right? That's the unicorn. That's those companies that go to $1 billion or whatever, right? That's and that's what every VC is always sort of trying to find. But the reality is that people also, for a project to maintain momentum, it needs to have either a strong driving vision that will sustain it through until you crack the solution to those hard problems,
right,
or it just needs to switch on to something more hype and then probably will eventually die out. So yeah, I think we're going to see. My hope is the vision can sort of sustain it, but we will see. So yeah, this episode, like, we're not going to go through in detail all of these places, but
no, you just managed to hit all my on that last slide. You just managed to hit all the major things I've been thinking about recently. So it kind of went off.
No, that's good. That's good. I always try to have some news, current affairs, or whatever, and then sort of a more generalized topic, right? So for this week, I really wanted to talk about the community, and again, obviously, this is a huge topic for you in terms of what is the community doing right or doing wrong. So if we're going to say, like, as far as the peer-to-peer electronic cash, I think one thing people don't understand is in cryptocurrencies, because so much of it operates online and everybody's on forums, or they heard from their friend, or they're trading on an exchange, or whatever, people get a bit divorced from the physical reality, especially with the pandemic as well. Everybody is much less aware of, for real, two people in a place trading crypto as being a thing. And so one thing I really like about the Bitcoin Cash community, I think, is that around the world there is a focus as well on real meetups and real people and merchant adoption and that kind of thing. Obviously, we don't want to lose that, like you're saying. But I've just got a bunch of examples here that I can just roll through for the viewers of different parts of the world that I've picked up on over the last couple of months, because to me, it comes back to this sort of proof of passion idea that I've talked about before, which is that it's very easy for somebody to create some websites or do whatever, but it's actually very hard to have a meetup, to just get 5 people in a room and them all just smile and take a photo, like that's a lot harder than anybody who's ever organized any event ever knows that, right? That's difficult. So the focus on those around the world, to me, I would take 5 people standing in a room being like, we love Bitcoin Cash, as worth a lot more than being number 15 on Coin Market Cap, because you can do that without having real ground level traction kind of idea, right? Yeah, so we've got cool. Here, so in Bangkok, they've recently been having a lot of meetups. I think now maybe less with the pandemic, but there's this guy who runs a bar who's now got this huge Bitcoin Cash logo, which is super cool. That kind of passive marketing. It just looks cool as well too. He's got the mirror right there and everything. So that's pretty baller. And we've got in Argentina, people were having meetups. This wasn't this week or anything, but it was obviously recent with the pandemic. And we've got the Philippines, Read.Cash has been really big there with people getting involved and getting the Bitcoin Cash shirts and everything. In Venezuela, here that's sort of that very ground level trading of Bitcoin Cash going on as well. Here's some more people again. And then we've got here Alexandra Olinikova. I probably said that wrong, but she's a tennis player, a young upcoming tennis player, and she's sort of declared herself to be the first athlete representing a crypto, basically. In this case, it's Bitcoin Cash, and she's been doing great stuff. She's been starting to doing some streams and taking donations. I'm sure she'll be making videos and everything like that. So yeah, that's a little bit of European kind of flavor there. Then we had in Tokyo that I saw recently, people were having these billboards, and there's just a post here from somebody who explains about they were buying from this same chain. It was like a jewelry store, and that there was discounts for paying in crypto and all that. So it was very peer-to-peer merchant adoption. And I think maybe I have one more here. Yeah, and then obviously in Australia, right, this is an interesting case. I actually haven't been here, sad to say. This is in Townsville in Queensland, just because of the pandemic. I haven't been home in so long, but I know you've been here. You were at a conference there, right?
Yeah, to me that's the crown jewel of achievement so far. Just because from what I understand is the way it's first of all, I mean, for myself, I could go anywhere and just pay with Bitcoin Cash. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I also understand, just because I talked to Hayden a bit about how things are connected and how people are paying each other, businesses are paying each other and stuff with Bitcoin Cash. It's a functioning economy, actually. And I mean, I would rather, honestly, I would rather see just everybody stop everything they're doing and just focus on duplicating that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be off on some, Linux on the desktop thing, and I could be wrong there, but this really excites me.
Yeah. Well, can you just give a quick, again, I've never been there, and probably 99% of the listeners haven't either, right? So is this sort of experiment in the northern part of Australia where they have, it's a fairly small town. It's probably under 1 million people or something like that, called Townsville, and this one guy, especially Hayden Otto, he has somehow convinced a lot of local businesses and shops and stuff to start accepting it. And it is more like cryptocurrency day to day of everybody just paying each other kind of idea, right?
Yeah, that's really it. I could be misrepresenting here, but if I remember right, I'm pretty sure they went from place to place and set them up with a tablet, a small tablet, and the Bitcoin Cash register. They spent, I don't know, 6 months or a year into all these places and helping them get set up. And then when they did, just for my here's it's I'm just remembering now. Okay, so it's cool when you can pay in the taxi. It's cool when you can literally pay anywhere, right? It's kind of gets wow, okay, this really works.
It's the future, yeah.
But the one that I think really kind of threw me off is we took a boat trip, I think, on the last day to a small little island.
Yeah.
And I think it had no no internet. There's it was just this really tiny little place. And we went into this small little bar there, and I just remember thinking like, oh, they're not going to. Finally, we found a place that isn't going to take it. Sure enough, they had the tablet set up, and we could pay with Bitcoin Cash. It was like, wow, literally everywhere.
That is
Like
amazing.
it was cool, man. It felt really cool.
Yeah, so if it is literally like, I think, again, for the listeners, like they're not used to that idea, but if you could imagine, just walking around and everywhere you just said, can I pay in Bitcoin Cash? And they said, yep. And you paid,
Yeah,
and that was it, right? It was that simple. Like for me, I agree. Like definitely we need to get more people, because if you can see it happening in front of you, right, that's where people can kind of connect the dots, because everybody still thinks of cryptocurrencies, this online speculation and mania and everything like that.
yeah,
But those, even just one or two of those transactions, that just speaks the world, really, because like I saw there was recently an article about some sort of hostel had adopted Bitcoin Cash, and somebody said in the comments
yeah,
like, oh, but they probably accept PayPal and they're not advertising PayPal. And I was like, mate, have you ever been in a hostel? If you're in a hostel and somebody says, hey, can I pay with Bitcoin Cash? Like the person
yeah,
at the register, they need to know what's going on. The business owner, they need
yeah,
to know what's going on. The people behind you in the line will be, hey, what's going on here? Like, and then it'll be, oh, let
yeah,
me have drinks with you. We'll tell you about this, and then blah blah. Like that's how it happens, right? So
yeah.
yeah, I think
You said something. I don't know if this is what you meant, but it sounded like you're saying like, oh, maybe it's just a couple payments. The thing that I think blew me away the most, and I'm going to just totally mess up this number.
yeah,
Okay, but like I remember they were talking about this one restaurant, or what it was, like this one business or something there, and they're doing like, here I'm going to mess up the number. It
yeah,
was either 15,000 or 40,000. I know those are very far off, but it was a very large number in monthly Bitcoin Cash transactions.
yeah,
Let's just go with the low one. It's $15,000 a month spent at one location using Bitcoin Cash. It's not like here in Tokyo when we go to the meetups, we'll go to like a bar or something, and it's pretty much just us
yeah,
paying with Bitcoin Cash and maybe a couple stragglers throughout the month.
yeah.
They're doing like serious business, and they're very cool.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think, yeah, I mean, the Australian government is busy printing money at an absolutely insane rate. They've doubled the money supply in the last few months,
Yeah,
or whatever. And just so this could be just the proof of concept. I'm really glad to see it, because then if that turns into, I mean, Australia is a pretty economically stable, sort of wealthy place, so it takes a lot for
yeah,
people to really be in a crisis mode, as it were. But on the other hand, people are also generally, kind of open minded and, willing to explore different stuff, because they're not at that, pressure of like, how do I pay my bills today? Like
right,
in
right.
some places. And so because of that, that this kind of thing can kick off, even if it's more of a, well, maybe that's an interesting point then, that maybe again the strategy has been wrong, in sort of we've been trying to find places where it was essential to have cryptocurrency, because the market is melting down and the government's printing
Yeah,
everything to zero and all that sort of stuff. But maybe the opposite approach, as we can see here in Australia, where actually if you go somewhere where people are not stressed about money, then in
yeah.
that way it can be cool and experimental, and sort of people get the idea.
And I'll throw something in on that. I'm not going to say this one very strongly because I haven't really done thought on this, but just kind of following my gut. Before I did branding for like companies and stuff, my real start was with like clothing companies, like streetwear and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and what I learned about, like, I really don't care very much for the fashion world or the clothing world. We don't really get along very well, but I spent some time there, and what I learned is like the same thing has always worked throughout history in anything like fashion or anything that's like an adoption kind of thing like that, and it still holds true in branding as well. But it's really, really obvious in fashion. You get the pinnacle people, the cool people, the great people that people love and respect to wear the clothing, and then it trickles down. And it trickles down through a very clear, and like it's a pattern that's like just very clear.
Mm.
Um, and so when I look at cryptocurrency, and there's been a lot of people saying like, oh, we should go for like Latin America, or we should go here and there. My concern is, and I don't know, like, I'm afraid that it might be seen as like I don't know of a better way to say it, just like a coin for poor people. And I don't know what that's going to mean in cryptocurrency. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But if I were to go back to just traditional basic branding, you would generally want to start higher up on the economic scale and have it trickle down to the lower parts rather than trying to go from the bottom up.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know if that's the answer. It's just some random musings I have on the topic.
Yeah,
You know?
I think it's interesting because obviously the selling point for people in those economies where problems are really rampant is that, yeah, people in desperation, the tolerance for risk taking goes up essentially. So that's
Yeah,
the benefit
yeah,
to crypto being able to find kind of an angle there. And then, like you're saying, I mean, I sort of had some sort of hope or theory, that if some of those poorer parts or economically, challenged parts of the world are adopting crypto first, and as crypto spreads, there's actually a bit of a wealth transfer going on there where they can kind of get back in the game,
right.
sort of like how a lot of places in Africa, I believe, have like better Wi-Fi connections than places, in the West, maybe because they just skipped that whole phase. They just jumped ahead a whole
Yeah,
shift, right? And you could have the same happening with
yeah.
crypto. So maybe that's happening. But then, yeah, maybe there's also a bit of a value to things kind of coming from the top. So I guess, I mean, reality is we're just attacking on both fronts. So once again,
It really is. Yeah.
crypto's got fiat surrounded. So uh,
And I do have to say, things like Eat BCH, it's just so amazing to just watch. Like, you could send enough money that isn't really a big deal to you easily. Like, so you scan a QR code, send a little cash, and this immediately goes to communities in Venezuela and South Sudan to actually feed people where they're excited about it. So it's not really necessarily replacing their finance or anything like that, but the humanitarian aspect, and I think important.
yeah, so for any of the listeners, look it up. Eat BCH, Eat BCH, and yeah, maybe donate a little bit to that cause if you want to get your good
Oh, for
karma
sure.
for the for the day, and also just
There you go.
experience a bit of Bitcoin Cash magic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely it. So yeah, I think the as far as the adoption goes, one point to me that really stands out in being able to say, look, okay, here's people in South America and in Australia and in Europe and Asia and all these different parts of the world, is that it's just emphasizing that philosophy of decentralization, right? Where if you have people in lots of different communities uh, involved in cryptocurrency, then the truth has an easier time rising to the surface because translation takes effort. That's something that, I mean,
Yep.
less so over time, but uh, in general, things only get translated when they're valuable and on the money because people want to hear about it in multiple different languages. So if we can
Yeah.
have that kind of going on where people are excited in all these different communities, they will speak to those communities in terms that community understands. And that's something where for Bitcoin BTC, they sort of went off the rails a bit, and now it's all about these bankers and these, hedge funds and whatever discussion. Well, all of that is happening in English, right? And I think that's a huge
Yeah.
like vulnerability that community doesn't really understand as much. Whereas if once you have it in more languages, like both in terms of spoken languages and also programming languages, both of those two things, the more you can spread things out, the more robust you make the threshold for ideas in that economy, because they will only spread to every different part if they make sense, to every way of thinking. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, like that's just what I've been, for people who think that Bitcoin Cash, they think it's still a bit fringe. Well, I would say it's probably the global leader. It's probably the crypto leader in terms of the spread of its diversity of communities and people who are interested. I would guess.
Nice. I'd love to see. I'd love to find a way to get that front and center just more often I think you and I have talked about this in the past. Just like I think we need a different metric
Mm.
other than price. You started the show with a couple really good ones, but yeah, I'd really like to see metrics around community, around adoption. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what it is, right? Is that the value of a coin is the value of its community. I think is something that people can think about, which is
Yeah,
that ultimately all money is just a proxy for other people's time and your own time, right? Is that you worked, you
right.
spent your time, obviously with whatever skills you had particularly,
Sure.
and you converted that into money, and and then you can trade that for somebody else's time, somebody else who made you a meal, or who built you a computer, or who, whatever their contribution was in terms of time. So really what it comes
Yeah.
down to is that you want a lot of people who are willing to trade their time for this one central aspect, and that comes from a community of people. So it is, we just, I guess, sort of contrary to what I was kind of claiming earlier, but exactly with what you were saying, is maybe we don't need to worry so much about smart BCH or different tech or different things. They can be sort of nice to get people involved, but in convincing people of the community kind of aspect. So because I was thinking about this, I had made a list of points that I thought would be, good values or good important key elements of a
Okay.
community. And so, yeah, we can just run through some of them and get your thoughts on what you think. So we're going to start with what you want in your community, and then obviously we'll do some of what you don't want in your community. So for me,
Okay.
I think the first thing I thought of was a vision, and this was like you were saying about branding. And Bitcoin Cash, it's Bitcoin Cash, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And I like that, or peer-to-peer electronic cash, because A, it comes directly from the white paper, B, it's
Sure.
very clear, and C, it also sort of naturally arose, right? So with BTC, they've kind of done this revisionist history and changed to digital gold, and they had to go through a bit
Sure.
of trauma to sort of centralize on that narrative. But at least now they're agreed on that, and that's, yeah.
And kudos to them. They did it.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I mean, even though they got the brand name and we got the brand idea.
Sure.
So I suppose, yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably an underappreciated aspect of the whole split, is that even though Bitcoin got the brand, Bitcoin Cash got the idea. So BTC had to
Yeah.
agree on a new idea. And then for Ethereum, they've sort of got decentralized computing, but again, it's sort of, I don't think the Ethereum community has done the best job of finding like a one sentence, this is what it is. It's more everything
You
for
know,
everyone.
I'm probably off here, but I know decentralized computing is kind of how they started, but I feel like it's programmable money
Yeah.
might be a little bit closer to what it actually is, which to me, that isn't very far off of the original goal
Mm.
to my taste. I don't know, maybe an Ethereum purist might see it different.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely, it's sort of tangential to electronic cash, I suppose. They're kind of
Yeah,
getting at
yeah,
the same thing, but like I said, well, there you go. That's just what we've been saying, is that really electronic cash makes me think of people trading, and programmable money makes me think of robots trading.
robots trading.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then, obviously, as well, number two, bigger is better when it comes to a community. The more people you have, just the better. The more spread out it is, the more everything. So that's not the key factor, because I tend to think of it more as a rate of change thing. Is if your community, it's better to have a small, passionate community that can then grow than to have a big community of people who don't really care, or who are sort of marginally
right.
invested. But on average, you want your community to be growing. Number three I've got here, and this is a little bit specific to cryptocurrencies rather than all communities, but I think you want to have a bit of a technical focus. Now, as time goes on and your community expands, that will be diluted by necessity. But for a cryptocurrency, it is ultimately a software project. So you need to have very high value committed developers. And because developers being who they don't themselves go out of their way to sort of get in the spotlight, or to be appreciated, or to get funding. Even we've seen big problems with that in the Bitcoin Cash and other
Yeah,
ecosystems. So I think that is a message that I want to put out to the listeners, which is that whether you're technical or not, it's to sort of appreciate that is a key part of the project and what we're building here.
I would I would like to say this nicely, but I think I have to just disagree a
Okay,
little
yeah,
bit. I was gonna be like, no, I want to add something. No,
yeah,
I don't. I think it might have been important. Like I'm kind of looking at cryptocurrency as like the first 10 years was
yeah.
one thing, and now we're in like phase
Uh-huh.
two, and I see the things that helped us back then aren't going to take us to the next part, and so I think that developers have been given a lot of responsibility in cryptocurrency. They've been given a lot of respect, and I mean all of that's good. But I think what we need more than developers right now are entrepreneurs. And what I see when I see the quote unquote developers on these Ethereum projects, what I see is entrepreneurs who know how to
Mm,
code, right? They have business ideas and they happen to know how to implement them. So of course they could be called developers, but I think I'm more interested in the entrepreneurial mindset, and I feel like that's what's missing more than anything from what we've got. And smart BCH, not to brag on that, but it's like it's one of those things that it's like it seems to me that it was come up with from a
mm,
developer, not come up with from an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is always just like, you know, the simple, you know, take it back to the lowest, like the drug dealer, just like, how can I buy this for $1 and sell it
yeah.
for two? You know, like just someone who just wants to generate profit. I'm more interested in entrepreneurs than developers. And in a perfect world, they would be uh, developers with an entrepreneurial, you know,
Yeah,
background.
and I agree. Well, I got to say this is a pretty strong point because to me, engineers want to engineer. That is both their greatest strength and their greatest weakness. Is that for a
Yeah,
cryptocurrency, you've been able to launch a lot of cryptocurrencies in the marketplace just because an engineer doesn't necessarily need to be paid to do something that they find technically interesting. They will just crack on
yeah,
with it because that's their passion, right? Money helps or facilitates that at some point, but ultimately that's just what they're into. But then on the other hand, like you're saying, that means if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? That's when you're an engineer,
right,
you
right.
start to think about things very much in that, code perspective and how do I solve this with code. But for certain problems, like as we're saying, with getting cryptocurrencies adopted, it's more a problem about people than about code. And that's where I suppose that's like the entrepreneurial angle that you're saying is thinking about transferring value between people.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see,
Yeah.
anyways.
Okay. No, that's a good take on it, and yeah, I think hopefully I'm myself personally moving in that direction, right? Because I'm a programmer, but I'm not spending my time writing software for Bitcoin Cash, right? Just because I think it's more important that I do this podcast or find other ways to like expand the community. Yeah, I think but we'll see
Right.
how things sort of play out. I would like to do some of that coding, but I've I've resisted
Yeah,
that. I've resisted that. Okay, so now we've got number
nice.
4 that you want to have in a community. This is a very interesting one, which is momentum and excitement. So it sort of comes to the theme of what we're talking about. And one of the
Yeah,
key points of this is that it's super, super difficult to get out of nowhere. But it's very, very, like, it's almost the most overwhelmingly powerful thing when it's running your way. So it's fickle, but it is
yeah,
powerful. And so to me, I think of the different eras of cryptocurrency adoption, and I can see that when Bitcoin was having its strong run, like that was really what the fork destroyed, was that momentum. And then
yes,
so even since then, okay, they've had some more price hype, but they still haven't really got the momentum back ever.
right.
And Bitcoin Cash, I think, like we were saying before, it's about you have to do the hard yards to get that momentum. And so Ethereum and
Yeah,
DeFi have captured a little bit of that magic, not in terms of the consumer payments, but in terms of the hype and excitement. And obviously, a lot of like Mark Cuban, I think of as a classic that now he's getting fired up about it and everything, just because
right.
he can understand the hype and the interest, and that draws people in. And so
Yeah,
this is where Bitcoin Cash currently scores low, but my prediction is that because it is focused on doing that very base level work of building a passionate, excited community with a mission, that it's going to turn that
Yeah.
around. And I think I personally already see evidence of that, like the tiniest little green shoots. But that's something we need to
Yeah.
water.
And I'll be honest with you, man. That's why I'm here. Like I've been working on Bitcoin Cash projects. I've always tried to stay in the background. Like I don't want to be like out. I never really wanted to be out talking about cryptocurrency. I just wanted to do the work in the background and help other people and other organizations. But I feel like nobody is helping us come to like a focused point. And so I'm trying to like get out and spread some of these ideas of just exactly what you just described, which is to focus. Because here's the thing, Ethereum does something that is good. It does something of value, and they're doing it, and people are excited. Fees are high, but due to the use case right now, that's actually not that big limiting of a factor. Like, there's a lot of good about what they're doing, and what I'm afraid of is that we're gonna just try to like copy them, like, and do a cheap, crappy version later. And I'm not talking about SmartBCH in this case. I just mean like we're gonna be like, oh, they're doing something successful, let's copy it. And what I'm seeing is like, if I look at the market and if I look at all the coins as companies, and I know they're not, but like if we look at these all as companies and like they have a strategy, some are more focused than others, but they've all chosen a part of the market, they've chosen a problem they want to solve, and they're going in that direction. Bitcoin Cash still, for me, is solving the problem I want to see solved. But I'm afraid we're losing track of it. And exactly what you just described, I feel like I have to say things that kind of ruin the short-term momentum. Just like, guys, like enough with the hype.
Yeah.
Right? Like just take it easy. There's a couple things that are actually broken we should talk about. But the whole goal is, if we can start building on some wins, on a strategy and a mission and a vision that's just going one direction.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this thing. And you know what, dude? Maybe it is robots. Maybe I'm wrong with Linux on the desktop, and maybe I can be convinced, right? So if we decide as a group that that's what we're aiming for, and we know that it's like different than all the other coins, and we have a good shot at it, then I think we can only build that momentum over time. And I just, then I'll finish this little rant on this part. The good part is then we'll be like Ethereum, where our momentum is legitimate, as opposed to Bitcoin, where eventually you realize it's just a Ponzi, right? Like, it doesn't do things, you know?
Yeah, I think it is still going to be peer-to-peer electronic cash. I just think that maybe you're convincing me. I was more on the bandwagon for SmartBCH, or certainly I think it can't hurt. But I do take the point very strongly that we can only focus on so many things. So if it's going to be peer-to-peer cash, that's where we need to put our efforts. And it's funny that you say thinking about coins as companies, because I definitely see it that way. And it's funny because
Really
it's not a very natural first thing, but you can, like, there's so many similarities in terms of like the crypto market, the coin market cap or coin gecko or whatever, versus like the NASDAQ, what stock is up and down, it's exactly like that. And the difference is obviously that there's no one central point of control, but it does have so many of the same aspects in terms of, okay, it has basically a customer base, or the holders, the users of that crypto, and then it has a sort of marketing department in terms of like this podcast, part of the Bitcoin Cash marketing department. You're part of the Bitcoin Cash marketing department for sure, and and then it has. So I do think of it like in those ways. It has, to some extent, it has an HR department. Like Craig Wright got forked out of Bitcoin Cash because he got, he got fired by HR, right? Like you can see like a company has all these roles and functions for a reason. It has a dev team, obviously. So it is a cryptocurrency, or it has several dev teams in our cases. It has a lot of different things, and those things are there for a reason, because companies have figured out that's what works. And so, to me, that's kind of how I try and conceptualize our community. Just the difference is there's no CEO, and so the way it works is that individuals need to hire themselves into a role rather than being hired into it, kind of thing. And that's obviously quite a fundamental shift. But I see it as being quite similar. So here we go. So here's a few other points that you want to have in your
Okay.
community. So I've got education is a big one, which is that the more a user understands a lot of stuff, because crypto is very complicated, but they understand the technology, they understand money, they understand finance, they understand history, they understand politics and sociology and psychology and all these different aspects that sort of wind together, design maybe even, or different things like that. The deeper you have an understanding of all of that for a particular cryptocurrency, and I think Bitcoin Cash is one of the deepest, that's why it's one of my favorites. But even for like Ethereum, it sort of matches up to the vision. You've got to have the vision, and then you've got to have all the supporting bricks to how could that work, or how could that make sense, or whatever. And so, to me, it's very important, and I think Bitcoin Cash actually does quite well, and because it has a lot of veterans and a lot of people who are interested in the fundamentals of money and all those kind of problems. It has quite a high, on average, education, right? Low education of crypto is like, I bought Dogecoin on Robinhood and it's going to the moon, right? That's, you understand.
The safety.
Yeah, that's right. You understand like some tangential aspect to it, like this can make me money, or you can trade this like a stock sort of thing, but all of those other layers of it are kind of hidden. And so the more the users are educated, the stickier they are, the less likely they are to swap off to any irrelevant hype of the month. So yeah, I think, and they can also educate others, right? So it's exponential in terms of, if you get one person the right idea, well, then maybe they tell 10 people.
Nice.
So then we've got diversity. So this was kind of what I was coming back to say before, which is that cryptocurrency is great because it is actually super inclusive by default, which is that the goal is to get everybody on board, literally everybody. So in every geography, every industry, every perspective, every kind of culture, every sort of economic capability should be for everybody. And that's what Bitcoin Cash and maybe the crypto market as a whole is slowly trying to get to the point of. And a big failing of BTC is that now they've just cut off huge chunks of the world from being at all involved. But that diversity it comes with a huge strength of resilience, because like I was saying before, the more sort of communities and different people you have involved, then the more something needs to be the right thing for everybody to start agreeing on it, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then we've got speculators. You want to have a low rate of those and a high ratio of proactive contributors. So this kind of ties to what I was just saying about Dogecoin, right? It's less important the total number. I mean, we did talk about the size, but very important is the ratio of people who are just in it for the money, because they'll sell out at any second once the winds change. And then proactive contributors, they're very, very hard to acquire in terms of somebody who will take their own time and energy and who sort of believes in the cause. And so then that's where it ties into the vision. If you have a strong vision, it's easier to get highly proactive people. So yeah, and that's sort of related to the next point as well. Conviction, you can only get conviction over a strong mission, right? Like again, Elon Musk, probably a good example of that. He's like, we're going to Mars. Like that's a big mission, so people can get fired up about it, right? Nobody's like, we're making electricity 1% more efficient. Nobody cares. We're going to Mars. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
So like,
that's interesting.
Dreaming big, and that's again, that's where I agree. Bitcoin Cash, global peer-to-peer money, that is a big goal, and so I like that the community is shooting that high, and I think we should keep it that high, even if in the short run, some people don't get it, but it means in the long run you're building people who really, really, really care. And then
it's really interesting. Actually, that's actually really interesting. It's like, I want peer-to-peer cash for the world. The way you say it is, what do you say, the global reserve currency?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, maybe those are our Mars.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to get to the moon first.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. I just want it to be explicit.
Yeah.
I just want somebody to say like, hey, we want to do this. Everything we do is leading us towards peer-to-peer cash. But on the way, we're going to do about 5 years of robot stuff. I could at least be like, okay, sounds like a mission, sounds like a goal, sounds like someone thought it out. We can all get on board. Yeah. Anyways, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's something that we need to draw from like a company type of mindset, is that having a roadmap, right? A good company will tend to they'll have a mission, and then they'll have a roadmap which the product team have put together. Bam, this is where we're going. This is the 5-year plan type of idea, and then this step, that step. So maybe that's something we can look into. I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe you and I, it's just spitballing here, but we could set up some kind of BitcoinCashRoadmap.com or something, and
let's do it.
You could have.
Let's do it. I'm already Corbin from the wallet team at Bitcoin.com recommended a book to me.
Yeah.
Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, and it's just incredible. And the dude just goes through like in detail about like how most companies don't actually have strategies. But he doesn't just like rag on other companies. He also says specifically how to make a good one. And I've just been going through it. He's got it down to like, I'm only like halfway through the book, but it comes down to a point where you just diagnose the current state of the world, come up with your plan, and then like a few kind of like actionable, like metrics, dude, I'm looking at it like we could do this.
Yeah, well, we should, like, that's it. I mean, there's only so much time in the day, but maybe we can talk about this afterwards. We can start thinking about this, and like, people can comment down below if they have any interest in that or they like that. I'm imagining, some sort of like flowchart type of thing, with the final block is peer-to-peer electronic cash, and then the things are, one city, has 100 adopters or whatever, and then it's 2 cities have 1,000 adopters. I don't know, something like that maybe.
Something.
And then once it's broken down into those smaller like chunks, then it becomes a lot more achievable, right? Because everybody can see it's more actionable. Yeah.
If we could get like half of the I'm not going to say community, like I don't know who I'm looking for, but like the key players like Bitcoin.com and like BCHN or whatever. Like if we could get like half of them on board, I would call that a win. Just like half of the major players look at it and say like, yeah, that looks like a good plan. Let's all do things that work towards that.
Yeah.
Then that means anyone comes in and says like, hey, I've been using this coin for the last 2 years. I like it. I have some free time now. What can I do to help? Well, here's the direction we're going. Can you think of something that helps us with that? Like, yes, I can. Awesome, go do that.
Yeah, no, I'm liking this idea. I think because at the moment it's quite that mission is sort of somewhat there, but perhaps that's where a lot of coins have problems, because essentially you can have a more or less decentralized coin, and the more centralized your coin is, the easier it is to have things like a vision and a roadmap, but the harder it is to have things like diversity or conviction. So there is a trade-off there, right? And so maybe we can think up something like that, and then the point is it's not going to be official, it's just going to be our suggestion, really, and then as per the sort of swarm methodology, if people want to get involved, they can get involved, and if they don't, well, they can make their own roadmap or put their own blocks on there or whatever, and then maybe
Bitcoin Cash Highway.
Highway, the road to success, mate. I mean,
let's have some fun with it, man.
We can. Maybe we can make some. All right, we're gonna get into too many ideas.
We're off track.
No, that's pretty cool. This is where these things come from. So we'll definitely talk some more about that. Afterwards, maybe do another show once we have something to present or something. I don't know. But anyway, the final point, this is the last one that I think on the community positives, if you want to have a high rate of crypto veterans. So these are really, really key, because in a crypto, you're going to have a lot of people who are brand new to crypto and a lot of people who are new to your specific coin. And either way, there's a lot of problems in cryptocurrency in terms of scams, people not understand what's going on when the price is volatile, people making and losing a lot of money, etc. It's really technical. It's not necessarily easy to use right now. All these things. So the more, the higher your rate of veterans that have been in the scene a long time, the better. And a lot of that, that comes from all the previous points about education, proactive contributors, having conviction, having a vision, or it's all sort of interrelated, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look at some of the negatives. So I think, what do you not want to have in your crypto,
Okay.
right? So number one I've got here is a centralized vision / wealth / influence. So this is somewhat, like I was saying, there's a bit of a spectrum here. So there's probably no Goldilocks amount, but you don't want to have necessarily too much of a certain company or individual or a certain location or any just one point of failure in your currency. And the biggest culprit of this is coins that launch where the company says, we're launching our new coin, we're going to have 25% of the wealth, and then it's like, that's it. By default, you've baked in from the very first moment that someone is going to always be pulling the strings and in control of what's going on, right? So I think that's something to avoid. Again, it's a bit of a spectrum, but
I have some thoughts on that, but I think we've kind of gone over it, or really you've gone over it, because basically it's just addressing that there's a spectrum.
Yeah, and thinking about
that's really it.
Yeah. And so you want to try and not get it too extreme in any one way. Okay, then second, this is interesting because I feel like this has got to be what you agree with, a focus on innovation. And it feels like for a cryptocurrency, because it's a technology project, you want to have, there will be necessarily be innovation in some sense, or people starting new ideas or things. But I sort of coming to what you have said already is that I think you don't want to try and be the most innovative cryptocurrency, because if you are, there's always going to be a newer and more innovative and more cutting edge. It's just a fool's gold. You can't get there. So you want the community to be open-minded, but you also don't want them to be chasing every flavor of the week, this, that, or the other, because there's always a new flavor of the week.
Yeah. And, really this comes back to the entrepreneur versus the developers. Like, I have no problem with innovation as long as it follows a specific task, right, to achieve a goal that human beings find necessary.
Yeah.
Like, that's what an entrepreneur is. Like, hey, a lot of people want us to solve this problem, and we can make a buttload of money if we solve this problem. Yeah. Like, that's cool. What I see too much of is what you're talking about here. Like, just like, hey, there's this cool new thing we can do. I don't care.
Let's do it because it's new.
I don't care at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, focus on innovation. Yeah, that's a good one. So
we sort of want to try and avoid that, to a certain extent. As we've said, it's always a spectrum. Number 3 is obviously price obsession. So, just different coins that are, this is where Dogecoin has a huge flaw, is that, it has both a unintentional pun, it has a flaw and a flaw, is that it's mostly about getting rich, or we're all going to the moon, or like any of that sort of stuff, which again with GME stock, that's kind of another case of that, where so much of the conversation and the hype is around the price. And then when the price is not going up, well, when it's going up, it's great and everybody's winning. And then when it's not going up, it's like, what is left? There's not much left, right? So that's why, to me, a medium of exchange is a better thing to focus on than a store of value, because a store of value relies on the price going up, whereas a medium of exchange, it's always a medium. You can always exchange it no matter what price it's at, right?
Sure.
So, that's one thing I think the community should be keeping in mind. Obviously, you can celebrate. It's always nice when the price, it's $1,000 and somebody makes a post, and that's number one for a while. But just as long as that's celebrated, and then it's like, right, back to work with everything else. And then number 4 is evangelism. So this is where I was thinking a lot about on Reddit. People make these chain tip bots that you can send a little bit of a currency, in a Reddit comment, right? And when they first came out, it was a very innovative thing, and it was super cool. It got a lot of traction because you could go into a part of Reddit, a community that was not involved in cryptocurrency, and you could find somebody who'd made an awesome comment, and you could send them $10 on that comment, and then every following comment was like, wait, what? Did you just send? Is that a real $10? Like, how? What magic is this, right? And that was super cool. But it's quickly degenerated into all those bots getting banned, because every single crappy ass crypto started sending around
Yeah.
1 cent tips, and it was like the most annoying form of spam advertising ever. And so to me, I think in crypto, again, it sometimes has that reputation, or when that sort of is misaligned, is that you want to be having a super cool house party that other people want to come to. You don't want to be going around, hey, come to my party, hey, come to my party, hey, come to my party. Like, forget about that. Like, you don't, I mean, again, there's different approaches, right? And you might have some thoughts here on the marketing, but I don't think we should be trying to aggressively push Bitcoin Cash, but we should be making things that are for themselves, are cool, that people want to get involved into, that focus on more of like an inbound rather than like I don't even know if that's the right words, but like inbound marketing instead of outbound marketing.
Let me give you an example of something that I thought was really good, that I could never have imagined, and that's NFTs. Now, I'm not going to get into whether the future of finance is animated GIFs, okay? Like, I'm not saying that, they're wonderful and all that, but here's what they did. They brought artists in, and they gave talented artists an opportunity to earn money that they wouldn't have got otherwise. And now there's a whole community of creative, interesting people who hold a lot of Ethereum. That's super cool, dude. That's like, promoting that is great. Now, there was a period where it became like everybody was promoting their Rarible page. So it was the same as your chain tip example, and that is where it gets annoying. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think just like having there be cool things that people want. Like, I probably can't think of the solutions we need, but some smart entrepreneur could be like, dude, we can build this on Bitcoin Cash and people will benefit from that. And then just let the service do its thing. Like, that's like QR codes for tips and stuff like that. There's lots of cool things that can be done. Anyways, this is just a long-winded way of me saying I completely agree with you.
Okay, good. Because we've got some. I'm glad we've had a good mix of things that we sort of agree are the key, and some that are more debatable. And then that's why over time that arbitrage is out across the community, right? Everybody can listen to this podcast and have their own thoughts, and then naturally we'll end up focusing on what is the most important out of all this. And then, so the last point I have here, which again I feel like you've already touched on a lot, is a focus on what other coins are doing. Like, you want the community to be aware of the crypto space, looking at, okay, these are different things, because if a community is doing something that is good, well, you can copy them to some extent, but also you don't want to be copying too much. You want to be ahead of the game. You got to be the first one to do it. And so if that means they're doing their thing and that's working for them, that's great. You don't want to be the second string version of another coin. You want to be your own coin, defined by your own mission and your own community, and your own push. And so, I think, Bitcoin Cash with the whole peer-to-peer electronic cash, bam, that's the selling point.
I want to say something else about that. I'm with everything that you just said. But there's another point to this, and this irks me, and it's been going on forever, is we frame ourselves as related to BTC. So it's like, Pepsi doesn't come out and say like, hey, we're the cheap Coke. They say we're Pepsi and we're delicious, or whatever, right? It's very weird for us to be like, hey, we're the cheap Bitcoin. It's just so weird to me. And the fact that we're still doing it 4 years later kind of freaks me out. But I could kind of keep quiet on that and be like, whatever, But it's like, now it's changing with the new coins. Like Ethereum, it's like, oh, we're going to be the cheaper Ethereum. Like, okay, well, that's weird. But, or like, oh, Ethereum, they're going to do, proof of stake, so they're stupid. Or like, they're wrong. Like, we're doing UTXO. Like, okay, great. But like, why are you talking about them even? Like, why are you framing Bitcoin Cash? And then the last example of this, I think Roger did a video. I just saw it like Bitcoin Cash is better than Monero or something like that. And it's like, just stop, dude. Just like the right way to. I haven't watched this talk. It's old, but it's Peter Thiel. It says like competition is for losers. And I'm just going off the headline. I have no idea what the guy said, but that concept rings true to me. It's like, just like, nice job, Ethereum. Like what you did there. Even Ripple. Who cares, dude? Like, good job, Ripple. Way to go, guys. Binance, all right, CZ, you did it.
Yeah.
Go for it. You showed centralized is the way. Way to go, dude. I feel like that attitude works as opposed to just like, no, we're better than Monero. No, we're better than Ethereum. Like, just calm down, dude. Like, we're Bitcoin Cash. We are peer-to-peer cash for the world. Like, just let's focus on our positives instead of framing ourselves in relation to everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it sort of gets to a deeper element as well too, which is sort of like what we were talking about before with people making that mindset shift from fiat to crypto. Is the switch is when you stop thinking of, I have a certain amount of dollars and therefore I can buy a certain, then I have an equivalent amount of crypto, to when you think I have this much crypto and that's the reference point, and then you think, okay, so maybe I have a certain amount of, like, I could get a certain amount of dollars kind of thing. Like it flips over the other way. You start thinking in terms of crypto as the baseline, like the measuring stick that everything else fluctuates against, rather than, and of course everybody by default basically starts with fiat currency because that's what they've spent their whole life doing. So for some people it's more or less of a hard transition to make. But once you get through to the other side, that's it. You want to be the measuring stick, not be the trade of the other side of the asset pair, right? And so that's we need like conceptually to be like that, where Bitcoin Cash is the measuring stick of what everybody's thinking about and focusing on, and the other coins are sort of fluctuating around that, at least internally in our community. Relative to others. So yeah, I think that's definitely a great point. So yeah, I've got here, and I'm glad this is something you were touching on. Like, I've been doing these community comment of the week. This is one that's not even particularly focused on Bitcoin Cash, but it's from Santiago R. Santos, who said on Twitter, "There hasn't been a better time for creatives, artists, musicians, writers to be discovered. Crypto is merging the sharing and passion economies powered by the reach, speed of the internet, depth of untethered global capital markets, and digital scarcity properties." And I'm on board with that. I think that's what you're saying about drawing in the artists and people who have interesting things to say or ways of expressing stuff, right?
Yeah. It's really very cool. I was surprised. It came out of left field to me. Like it's very surprising to me, but there's a couple of very small coins that I like. One is called Based, and I love it because they just call it an art project. And it's like all just memes and art and just like lo-fi digital stuff. Very cool. But it's creative. It's like, where did this come from? Like, we've had like wallets with like mediocre UX for so long. And we're just like, oh, it's fine. Been so technical focused. And all of a sudden, like, there's a coin that's just an art project.
Yeah.
There's this one called like Chads, and they just paid some like really good, well-known artists to do art for them and make NFTs. It's awesome. They're just taking their gains and spending it on art.
Yeah.
It's so weird that this is happening, but I love it.
Yeah, we need to get a little bit of that. And that's like you're saying, as you expand the community, because, well, maybe this is what you're talking about before, devs before, is that cryptocurrency came from such a technical background. Sort of the technology had to get established to a certain extent in the kind of technically minded community. And now it's got it's definitely not perfect, and there will always be a technical element, but it's starting to expand. Even the finance side of it took a long time to get rolling, but now they're starting to wake up to it, and the creative industry is starting to wake up to it. I definitely think, fashion and branding and all that is going to be huge. So I'm not necessarily the right person to be involved in that, but if you're listening to this show and you're into fashion and branding and stuff like that, start thinking about crypto in terms of fashion and branding, and you're going to hit on something massive. I'm sure of it. Just a recommendation for any entrepreneurs out there. All right, so here we have this one, meme of the week. So I don't know if I actually got myself set up with this. Actually, let's see if I can do it. But it's this video of Roger Ver talking to this guy about Lightning Network, and it made me laugh. Usually I just have an image, right? But have you seen this clip? Do you know what this is?
I haven't.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just going to play it for the listeners, and then I'll summarize it for you after.
Checked it out yet, but again, like the idea of Lightning, streaming Satoshis via the Lightning Network, while you're listening to a podcast to the podcaster is something that I think is starting to pick up steam. And again, as a podcaster, I think it's pretty cool.
As a podcaster, that's great. And I'm not familiar with Spinks Chat or the name
Spinks
there,
Chat,
but
yeah.
In order to pay them the $4 to set up your full node watchtower to watch your Lightning Network, are you going to pay them, you're going to pay $50 in Bitcoin fees to do that? How do you pay them the first $4 if you don't already have a Lightning Network?
Well, you pay with a credit card. That much is true.
Sounds awfully censorable to me.
So that's fair. All right, Roger. Well, I appreciate your time today.
So what it is, for Cameron's benefit, as I just switch this off and we stop that coming through everywhere, is that basically this guy is talking about the Lightning Network, and he's telling Roger, like, wouldn't it be great if we could stream Satoshis out in podcasting, which I've been he says, I've been doing that on the Lightning Network. It's really awesome. And so Roger says to him, okay, this service that you're telling me about called Spinks Wallet, why, if that you can pay them to get everything set up with your watchtower and your all the various stuff that's needed, right, to actually use the Lightning Network. So how do I pay that $4 to them to get it to get everything set up so that I can use cryptocurrency, I can use Bitcoin, I can use the Lightning Network? And the guy just kind of has this nervous laugh, and he says, "Well, you use a credit card for that. That's true." And like that's just it. You can watch the video after this talk, but it's just amazing. It's just the most like shut down kind of moment, and you could just sit like Roger just has this look of like, there it is, like I knew it was coming, right? And he just has this moment of like, okay, and he just says, well, that sounds kind of sensible. He doesn't even, I mean, you could just go off forever there, but he's just like that. All right, nothing more needs to be said, So, I just think that to me, that it just made me, when I saw this clip, like it was shared around a bit, and it's just so funny, the moment where Roger just says, so how do you pay the $4 to him? And he just says, you use a credit card, and it's like, all right, that's the end of the story right there. So I hope the listeners enjoyed that. Right, so just wrap up the show then. I mean, obviously this whole talk has been a bit of a message to the community and everything, but I like the idea of having a bit of a segment where the guests, just it can be anything, right? Whatever is on your mind. That obviously I've got a few listeners to the show, and any idea you have or spread to them, well, they could spread it further, and we're all sort of trying to be on the same page here. So absolutely anything that's on your mind. What do you think the Bitcoin Cash community needs to hear? Big topic, I know.
No, it's a really good one. It's actually it's a hard question, but I think I have an idea. I'll just like start throwing words out and see if anything coherent
just riff on it.
Essentially, I think we just need to be a little more open-minded and a little bit like more relaxed in general. What I mean to say is, we've had a hard run. Okay, like I'm a believer. Like, it's kind of, Bitcoin Cash doesn't really have the greatest reputation right now in the wider world, but I still believe we made the right choice back in 2017. I think that honestly, the people behind the orange coin are wrong, and they were wrong. And I understand price doesn't show that, and like anyone who sold all of their orange coin for green coin back then, they're not in a good place right now, and it's going to be easy to be feeling upset, and like I said, it's been hard, right? But I think we just need to like just focus on the good aspects of our coin. Focus on the vision that we have. Go back to the roots. Like, okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay. All I had to do was just ramble for a little bit, and something would come.
Yeah, that's always the way.
Yeah, dude, just go to YouTube, search for Old Roger Ver and Andreas whatever his last name is. Yeah, find their stuff before like 2016.
Yeah.
and listen to them talk.
Yeah.
And they're talking about a vision for the future that is beautiful. And that's why I'm here. And we can still do that, but we've got to just like, we've gotten distracted on the way. Just go back to the roots. Remember why we're here. And I think if we can do that with an open mind, being positive towards the other cryptocurrencies who have come along with us, because this whole movement is still the Wild West. We're so lucky to be a part of this. Just go back to the roots, and let's start this in a positive. Let's restart everything with a nice, clear vision on a positive path. That's what I'd like to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I just said it.
No, I love it. That's great. You know, I've been thinking recently. You know, I've introduced this segment onto my show, and I think it makes quite a good little like clip. So I'm thinking maybe I'll end up making a little playlist on YouTube. And so then, because when you're new to Bitcoin Cash, right, you're not going to come along and listen to, you know, 100 hours of my podcast. Maybe people do that, right?
Sure.
But, you know, or whatever strikes their fancy, right? But just some medium where it was just condensed down, because it's a conversation. A community has a conversation, right, going on. And that's what I think we really need to encourage. And I think those kind of aspects to the community are lacking from a lot of crypto. So if we can stand out in that way, and everybody can be thinking about, not everybody needs to agree, that's the whole point of you know, decentralization. But even just having those conversations, one thing leads to another. Somebody has an idea, somebody else has a different take, whatever, some project comes out of it, and it just snowballs. And there you go, really. So yeah, I completely agree with you. I think peer-to-peer electronic cash, that's what we're here for. So yeah, go out and trade it, or spread the word, or whatever. So yeah, this is the end of the episode then. So as always,
okay, nice.
You can have you know, donations if anybody's feeling generous. I will put the slides and resources.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know, what sound does Bitcoin Cash make? Like, that's the sound that fiat makes. It's cha-ching, right? Maybe we need a new sound. It needs to be like or something, like, you know, some sort of crypto graphic kind of sound. I don't know.
When you played that, I didn't hear it, but when you played that clip from Twitter, did it have a sound at the end? When
it has the little flip, like the it does, you know.
I think somebody hired a sound effects guy to make that for Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if it gets used.
Well, I use it. I put it at the start of my videos, you know, just because like it sounds like a video game. It reminds me of like Mario, you know, and the coin little things pop out of the box thing, like that. That's, you know, that's where I like it. I think it sort of makes sense there. Yeah, we've got to get some more sound engineers on this show. Got to have somebody who can, you know, mix us up the next big viral sound to spread out.
That's great. Yeah, dude, what was that Mad Money show?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly, something like that.
That'd be great.
Anyway, more creatives, as we've been saying. So any final shout outs do you have for the show? Where can people find you? Like, we'll put the links in the description and everything. But if people want to follow your stuff.
I mean, I'm doing everything on TikTok these days. That's really where I'm spending most of my time, or Telegram. But I really don't have anything really to promote. But I mean, you can check out CameronLeeWorldwide.com if you want. You can buy some of my wonderful T-shirts. I have a new PsyOps T-shirt. I will accept your filthy government money, but I also take real money, like Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum. So yeah.
All right.
Go there.
Cool. And my
worldwide.
CameronLeeWorldwide.com.
Worldwide.
We'll put a link in the description for sure. And my shout out this week goes out to Rebecca, who is a new friend I made a couple of days ago. I was out, the lockdown starting to end, so I was out, you know, with work, having some drinks. We got talking about crypto, and she told me that her mother had time to look into crypto that she didn't have. So her mum, who I assume must have been more than 50 years old, you know, maybe in her 60s, was trading on Binance and making a fortune. And
What?
so I just thought, this is great, you know. And so she said to me, oh, you know, we're just talking about crypto and everything. So I gave her some Bitcoin Cash, you know, bit of peer-to-peer. There was a few people being, you know, like, you know, hating on cryptos or whatever. But of course, you just ignore the haters.
Sure.
So we just did that trade. She
Yeah.
subbed to the podcast. I hope she's listening now. So shout out to her and to her mom.
And her mom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
very-
crypto
very cool.
genius. They're with it. They're on the front lines. So I'm just really
I
glad
love
to
it.
see that you know, adoption just spreading, just slowly, you know, word's getting out
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah,
that was
it's great.
that's
Man.
pretty awesome. So yeah, I guess that wraps up the show. Thanks for coming on, and
Okay, it was really enjoyable.
yeah.
Man. I enjoyed it.
Good stuff. Until next time, then.
All right.
He pulled out his laptop and bring up the site, looked at me and said, this will change your whole life. Then he started explaining the basics to me. The miners make money by taking the fee every time a transaction is made incomplete, and they work every minute and day of the week. A guy named Satoshi created this all. He's the mastermind of it, the brain and the balls. There's a lot more to say, but before I begin, just tell me right now if you're out or you're in.